All right, everybody. So welcome again to our lab. Patricia and I, we are fintech recruiters, and we work in the fintech space. And pretty much what we do is we work with fintech stands for financial technology. In case people aren't aware of the term, and really what the fintech space is, it's startups and companies that are disrupting banking and financial services in general. So you have a group of companies, and you may have heard some of them on the news, or maybe he even used some of them, like Square. Square seems to have penetrated the mass market. So you may have used fintech companies and not even aware of it. An older fintech company that everybody's heard of is PayPal. So any financial company, although they may not be considered a disruptor anymore, but they started the trend for sure. So we work with them and we place people, and we also want to educate people and let them know about what's happening in the space and how it's going to affect your personal life, as well as your professional life if you're in financial services. And we have a summit coming up called the Fintech Careers Virtual Summit. And what that is, it's going to be a virtual conference. All you need is a webcam. And we're going to have various startup founders and companies talk about what they're doing in the space. And there'll be an opportunity to apply to some of the jobs that they have to offer. So, and we're also going to have labs like this, and we're going to be doing webinars that focus on what's happening in the space and give you more of an educational perspective of what's happening in the space. So, so it's a great opportunity. It's March 3rd to the 6th, so watch out for it. And so that's pretty much about it. We are in Canada, Patricia and I, but we cover the global fintech hubs. So we have a teammate in New Jersey who helps us cover New York City, because that's probably one of our largest centers right now is New York City. And we will also have someone coming on board in San Francisco who will be on the ground in San Francisco, but we also cover San Francisco. We obviously cover, Toronto, Vancouver, New York City, I said, San Francisco. Atlanta is a huge fintech hub. They call it Transaction Alley, and we'll talk about that a little later. Did I say Boston? Yeah, Boston, London, Singapore, and Hong Kong. So those are and Sydney, Australia. They seem to be in terms of Asia, Australasia, whatever you want to call it. They seem to be bonjour. Okay, so we have coverage on the various fintech centers, and we can't forget Montreal. There are some fintech centers coming out of Montreal, and Montreal's actually been a pioneer in fintech because they, I think, started the whole Interact thing. If I'm not mistaken, I might have to do my history and check that out. But and if you're a North American, you know what Interact is. I don't think the Europeans have Interact, but anyway, they have their own version. All right, so let's start. The topic today is how is fintech transforming financial services. So Patricia, you want to talk a little bit about how it's transforming it? Who are the key players in North America, or at least Canada? Let's start with Canada.
Yes, I will start with Canada. In terms of main players in fintech, we have Toronto. There is a startup bootcamp. We have Mars Fintech Accelerator. We have not only Toronto, but we have Vancouver, and Vancouver is well known as a Bitcoin city. And you just mentioned about Montreal.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so now in terms of the U.S., I think I mentioned a couple of the U.S. Centers. Obviously, Silicon Valley is huge. As you know, San Francisco Bay Area, that whole Bay Area is very big on fintech, and they have the most fintech unicorns for sure. In terms of New York is called Silicon Alley. You've got Boston, you've got Atlanta, which is now called Transaction Alley. You got what we call Silicon Prairie, and Silicon Prairie is Chicago, it's Austin, it's Iowa, it's Kansas, it's Minnesota, and Miami is also coming on the map, and Miami is very much linked in with what's happening in Atlanta in terms of payments. So, and we can see Miami becoming a base for a lot of the Latin American fintech companies. They'll, most of them will set up their offices in Miami as well, as a gateway between the English and Spanish world. We can also cover Europe. London is, by far, we think that the leader in terms of what's going on in fintech in Europe. They're called the Silicon Roundabout. And then there's Dundee and Edinburgh, and that now is being called Silicon Glen, and that's Scotland. They represent Scotland. And Dublin, Ireland is also very much on the map in terms of fintech. They've got a lot of innovative companies coming out of Dublin, and they seem to also be a high-tech center. A lot of the bigger tech companies tend to be headquartered in Dublin. Germany doesn't have one particular city. They have Munich, there's Frankfurt, there's Berlin. And what's really cool about what's happening in Germany in the fintech scene is they have what they call neobanks. So they're coming out with challenger banks and neobanks, banks that are challenging the traditional banks. So no brick and mortar, it's just completely online. So lots of cool things coming out of Germany. And we think a lot of the rest of the world will template some of the stuff that's coming out of there. You've got Sweden, Stockholm being the center of the fintech world over there. You guys might have heard of Creditech is out of Stockholm. Spain, it's between Madrid and Barcelona, so we're seeing like an even split in Spain. With France, actually, the French government put out an initiative, a pretty big initiative. I can't remember how many billions, but a couple $2 billion to get France, really integrated and online. There's a huge push. So if you're in France or you know anybody in Paris, the government is funding a lot of startups right now because they really want to push the initiative to get online. The Canadian government tried to make a Bitcoin ripoff. Okay, that's interesting. Switzerland. Okay, yes. Switzerland is definitely on the map. What's really interesting about Switzerland is that a lot of companies left Switzerland and went to Singapore. But Singapore is, and we'll get to Asia soon, is sort of being touted as the new Switzerland because the Swiss government started disclosing, a lot of the bank accounts that were, what's the word I'm looking for? They had like secrecy banking and things of that nature, but because of the world we live in, they started to disclose it. So people started moving their money to Singapore and setting up businesses in Singapore. So I think the Swiss are trying to make a comeback because they lost a lot of business to Singapore. And it might also be for tax reasons as well. Singapore has a really progressive tax system, so they tend to attract a lot of savvy startup owners who want to make the most of the tax shelter that Singapore offers. Luxembourg is another fintech center. We're seeing, and again, like France, their government is really putting in a lot of money, and there's a lot of effort to bring fintech entrepreneurs to Luxembourg, to make Luxembourg a center. So right now, what we're seeing in Europe, there's like a mad rush to really try and bring fintech opportunities through with the help of the government to their country. Malta. When I first started getting calls from people in Malta, I'm like, what is up with Malta? Malta seems to be a haven for developers, for coders, for developers. A lot of Greek entrepreneurs, fled Greece, surprise, surprise, and are in Malta, right? They're all in Malta. And Malta seems to attract a lot of these type of fintech companies. Yeah, we're going to get to Asia. So thank you, Kin, I don't know how to say your name. Kink Seskab, whatever, Saba. You know who you are, the Hong Kong question. Yeah, we're going to get to Asia. Hong Kong is huge, big time. So we're seeing a lot of activity in Malta. And in terms of Eastern Europe, there are a couple countries that haven't emerged yet as like the dominant ones, but this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the Czech Republic, Russia, obviously, because the huge programming power that they have of software developers, Poland, Romania, Ukraine, and Estonia. Now, Estonia, again, a lot of government involvement. Estonia is really trying to promote what they call e-government. So they want to get everything online pretty much. And really, they're trying to attract entrepreneurs and digital nomads to Estonia to set up businesses in Estonia. So lots happening in Europe, and it's exciting. It'll be interesting to see which country emerges as kind of the best place to do business in Europe for fintech entrepreneurs, but there's definitely a push from a couple governments. Patricia?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of Latin America, we have Brazil, Argentina, we have Mexico.
Yes.
I have not much to add about that. We would like to more focus on Asia.
Yes. So Asia, as the person mentioned, I see Exapo based there at least in legal ways. Yes. So Hong Kong is a huge center. It always has been. I mean, when you think of finance, right, you think New York, London, Tokyo, Hong Kong, right? That's pretty much the financial world. So they are definitely a part of the fintech space. And Exapo, if I'm not mistaken, that's money transfer, right? I think it is. I don't remember. The name sounds familiar, but and the money transfer capital is London. I mean, all of the Bitcoin vault. Okay, interesting. All right, yeah. So Patricia, I think we'll be getting to Bitcoin as well. Singapore is another one. Shanghai, in terms of China, Shanghai is emerging. Mumbai, from India, and a little place out of India called Noida. It's like an industrial park, and it's just outside of New Delhi. So that's it for Asia. And how about Australia? Patricia, what do you see coming out of Australia as a city?
In terms of Australia, of course, we have Sydney.
Yeah.
We are only Sydney for now.
Right. Fish burners. I don't know what that means. What does fish burners mean? Just a tech hub. In Sydney. Isn't that interesting? Okay, very interesting. We learned something new. I love learning the local slang. I love it. See, in Canada, we don't have any local slang for our tech hubs. We need them. Okay, now we'll get to Israel. Israel, a lot of really cool stuff coming out of Israel, Tel Aviv, but it's also kind of scattered. There are a couple other cities that have these fintech companies coming out of Israel, and Israel by far is the cybersecurity capital of the world. I mean, when it comes to cybersecurity in fintech, that's where, it seems like all of them are coming out of Israel, or at least headquartered in Israel. So it'll be interesting to see how much they expand that realm. And Africa is also on the map. And really, I think a lot of the African companies tend to be Bitcoin and money transfer based. Surprise, surprise, right? Because there's such a need. So South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Ghana, and a lot of them have a London connection because If you look at, what's the name of that company? Oh man, they're the money transfer, World Remit. Okay, World Remit is an African entrepreneur who studied, the London School of Economics, wanted to send money back home and to Somalia, and it was ridiculous. So he created this company. So a lot of the African-based companies are actually, students really who are going to Europe studying, or the U.S., and then they go back home and they create these solutions to bridge the immigrants with the continent. And we're seeing the same for Latin America, the same thing. Mexico, same thing. So yeah, so that should be interesting. It's making the world smaller, and I think more. It's just exciting, in my opinion. All right, so we're gonna also so feel free. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Did we miss any questions? Because I know I don't know. I never know how to scroll back to see the questions. Anyways, okay. If anybody wants to hop in and join us, Philip, I don't know if you're in Australia. I have no idea where people are, but if you guys want to hop in and join us, we'd love to talk to you guys more about what's going on. Mm-hmm. So Pat, you wanna talk about what's happening in lending, because that's probably has the biggest unicorns. And just to define what a unicorn is a company that's valued at $1 billion and over. And there are a lot of unicorns in fintech right now, and it'll be interesting to see if they continue, if they'll be able to sustain their $1 billion evaluation. So let's talk about lending, the alternative lending.
So alternative lending, also called peer-to-peer lending, it's a lending marketplace that cuts out a lot of the traditional middlemen and connect lenders with the borrowers at more competitive interest rates. We have business and personal loans, and what Nako just said, this space has the most unicorns. So it is companies valued at $1 billion or more. And for example, we have Lufax in Shanghai, #1, valued at $10 billion. Next, we have Lending Club in San Francisco, Common Bond in New York City, On Deck in New York City, Prosper in San Francisco, SoFi in San Francisco. So we can see domination of the Silicon Valley unicorns.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Has anyone used any of these companies, or has anyone heard of any of these companies? And what are your thoughts about what Pat just said about these companies? Like, would love to know what people think about the lending space, P2P lending. Yeah. You want to hop on, Philip? We'd love to have you join us. Okay, cool. Hey, welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Where are you based out of?
I'm in Montreal area.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. So a bunch of Canucks today. So what do you think of the space, the alternative lending space?
I mean, I only heard about it a few weeks ago, to be honest.
Okay.
So I haven't had a chance to use it, I mean, it sounds like an okay idea. I mean, I guess it comes down to, are they offering lower interest rates? As a consumer, I mean, I wouldn't go with it just because it's new. I mean, it would have to have better rates for me to go for it as a consumer. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. They all have better rates. That's definitely the draw. And also the big draw is also that they also have, if you want to be an investor, right? This is where it gets interesting, because if you want to lend money, the rate that you're getting is really, really attractive. So really the whole fintech space, and the way I see it, and most people see it, is it's democratizing wealth, access to wealth. because only the rich were able to lend money. I mean, think about it, right? Like if you had to have a certain amount of income and have certain access to the right people to be able to pool money and to lend it and get a really, really good rate. You could be an average Joe, you know, making $60,000 a year, but you're really good at saving, and you can actually be an investor. Like, that's revolutionary. It's almost.
I say that's pretty cool, and I've read that they diversify your investment enough that you're only like $1 invested in any one person or something like that.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And you know, you've got a company like crowdfunding, real estate crowdfunding is a really good example where one of these companies actually invested in the Hard Rock Resort, and they brought it to the crowd. Okay, so imagine you're like, you know, Joe Schmo, and you're investing in like Hard Rock Cafe or the Hard Rock Resort. That was only, I'd say 5 years ago. You have to be a multimillionaire. You have to be what they call a certain accredited investor. You have to make a certain amount of money and all of this criteria. And now you could just be like, you know, just like an average guy who manages their money well and wants to have access just like everybody else. Like, it's pretty amazing. I mean, we're living in an amazing time to build personal wealth.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're also, I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, but you know, we have to answer them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about payments, the payment space. Again, along with lending, this space has the most unicorns. And what we mean by unicorns, you know, companies with $1 billion investment. Thanks, Philip. We really appreciate you joining us. Yeah, so many of you may have actually used some of these payments and not even realize they were fintech. So Square is one of them. Square, you can find cab drivers use them. You know, I mean, Corner Store is using them now. I mean, it's everywhere, just about everywhere, and they're global, which is really cool. So here in Thailand, you know, the guy at the juice cart has Square now. Like, it's pretty crazy. Stripe is another company, and both of them are out of San Francisco. A company called Pala, they're in London. Klarna is in Stockholm. KTM, I think is how they say it, is out of India, out of New Delhi. Zura is also in the Bay Area, the San Mateo area. So these are the top 6, or at least the giants, the unicorns in the payment space. And really what the payments are doing is it's cheaper, and they're cutting out the inefficiencies, again, of connecting your bank account directly to the consumer. So again, it's cutting out the inefficiencies is pretty much what the payment space is doing. Yeah.
So what do you guys think of Bitcoin at this point? I feel like, you know, about a year or two ago, the fintech kind of mainstream bigger companies like MasterCard and Visa became interested, and I'm wondering is the hype kind of cooling off with that crowd because it went too far, or is there still more involvement with Bitcoin from big companies, do you think?
Okay. Pat, you want to talk about that, or should I mean, we can both.
So maybe I will start about digital currencies in general and Bitcoin. So yeah, then I don't have to repeat myself, and then we can jump again to your question. So in terms of digital currencies, Bitcoin, processors, wallets, exchanges, Bitcoin is just as much as philosophy of the role of money and an individual's right to be free to trade, buy, and take personal responsibility for their financial well-being. And what is very interesting about Bitcoin is no longer only for highly educated, technologically savvy end users, but has become a mainstream digital currency used all over the world. We have, for example, a lot of celebrities supporting Bitcoin, like Snoop Dogg, Childish Gambino, Mel B. They are accepting Bitcoin for their albums. What happened right now, Hollywood is going to accept Bitcoin in movies. So basically, you are able to use Bitcoin to purchase movie tickets. In terms of a little bit changing topics, European Union is not yet willing to regulate digital currency. In terms of key players, in terms of Bitcoin, we have Coinbase in San Francisco, we have BitPay in Atlanta, we have Gemini in New York, and I would like to say a little bit more about Gemini. Gemini is led by investors Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. In 2004, Winklevoss brothers sued Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, for stealing their Connect EU idea. And I would like to only quote what Cameron Winklevoss said. He said that the institutionalization of Bitcoin trading is currently taking place. It will be a very exciting next 12 months as this type of investor enters the market. And I think that we can start the discussion from this point.
Yeah. So just to talk to Philip's point, you're right. There is a lot of excitement from the establishment, if you want to call them that. The banks are really excited about Bitcoin, but not the currency. So there are two types of, when you hear Bitcoin in the news, there's Bitcoin with a small b, and the small b means the currency, and the capital B means the technology. So the capital Bitcoin is overrated. No one uses it to buy real products or services. Okay, so we're going to speak to that, Amino Zur. So the Bitcoin B, the technology, is actually a protocol similar to the HTTP that you see in your browser, right? It's like
like this whole idea of cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
You know, they like the idea of creating new ones, maybe.
Well, what they wanted to
I had been interested in Bitcoin for a while. I wouldn't say I was one of like the early people, but before it ever became big in the news, I was interested. And just as a hobbyist, not this year, but the year before, I went to the Money 2020 conference in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And they were going crazy over Bitcoin there. It was like almost surprising how much they were promoting Bitcoin. So that's why I asked. I was just initially, I was kind of surprised how much big companies got interested in it. And my guess is that they didn't fully understand the opportunities, and now they're like, oh, you know, maybe we should stick to trying to create our own cryptocurrency or something.
Yeah, what they're excited about now is the technology. So the technology.
I'm just reading the comment, laughing.
Yeah, I read that.
Yes, and it was true.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's a small, teeny tiny segment, right? It's not a, you know, there are not a lot of Bitcoin users who use it for that reason. But what the banks are now looking at is the technology underlying Bitcoin, which is called the blockchain. And maybe you guys have heard of that term in the news. And really, what the blockchain is it allows everything to be tracked on an open ledger. So if you're in the stock market, this is an application that they're using it for. If you're in the stock market, you're able to track and trace where the money has gone, where it's gone, who's involved in the trade. So normally, like right now, that takes about 4 or 5 days to settle, right? It's a settlement process, similar to a credit card. when you purchase something on a credit card, it doesn't go automatically. Like it takes 2 or 3 days, and then they post it, and then you can see the charge, right? It's not like an instantaneous. What the blockchain is going to do is going to make everything instantaneous. So MasterCard and Visa love this idea, because if they can cut out the time that it takes to charge something, and then the store has to send it, to transmit it, and then it's got to post, and then it's got to show up in your account and deduct from your bank, and all of these steps, they cost money, they cost time, and this is like trillions of dollars, right? Because time is, is the amount of time that it all takes to process. So what the blockchain would do is it actually cuts all of that out, and it makes it instantaneous. So they're not excited about the currency of Bitcoin. They're excited about the technology. And the technology, people have now coined it blockchain. So the blockchain technology has many applications. And these applications are not just in finance. They're in real estate. So if anybody has ever bought a house, they know that you have a title, right? And you got to make sure that the house that the person's selling you actually belongs to them. It doesn't have any liens. There's all this stuff that you have to do. And you pay somebody to do that. And you pay them big money. It's not cheap, right? It's a couple $1,000s for the closing. And that involves like all of the, all of that stuff that they'll check out, make sure that everything is proper.
Yeah, I've heard of also like putting messages into a Bitcoin transaction and then using that as a notary, so you could actually prove that something was put in writing on said date because it's on the blockchain.
Exactly. That's exactly what they want to do. So what does that mean? That means that if you're in Sydney and I'm in Toronto and I go online and I see a beach house that you're selling, we don't need real estate agents. We can just do it. Just me and you. It's on the blockchain. Everything is going to be captured on the blockchain, and you're not and you're not able to change anything that happened in the transaction. So, in other words, if there is a lien on the house, or if there's any kind of I don't know, whatever that real estate agents and the escrow people, whatever they check to make sure everything is legit, that's all going to be taken care of by the blockchain. So this really transforms entire industries, and it's real estate, it's oil and gas, like anything where their contracts is going to be handled by the blockchain really efficiently, and they're calling it smart contracts. So exactly to your point, what you're saying.
Oh yeah, actually that brings me to another company that I was just thinking about, or more a new technology, which is Ethereum. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, they're in Toronto.
I've got a few like developer friends who are just really getting excited about Ethereum right now. Apparently it allows you to pre-program contracts or something along this lines and have your cryptocurrency attached to different outcomes, which is really kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Did you know that they're Canadian? They're actually based out of Toronto, where we are.
No, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. So yeah, they're homegrown. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of really cool applications. So people are actually more excited about the Bitcoin technology right now than they are about the currency. I don't know about the currency. I don't know what to think about it. I think a lot of developing countries might have more use for it. Who knows? It's kind of up in the air. Anybody have any comments about blockchain, Bitcoin? Let's see, contract with anyone as its trust. Yes.
I mean, yeah, I like that, and I think that Bitcoin was kind of originally that, because you've got this second or third generation of people who are interested in Bitcoin more from the corporate side, but for the people who are originally interested in Bitcoin, there was a lot of people who were, I don't know if you've heard the term Austrian economics,
yes,
who have an issue with, inflation of money supply, and they thought, this is this amazing idea, because formerly, people had to either invest in gold or silver or some kind of inconvenient asset, whereas cryptocurrency really allows you to, put money somewhere and know someone's not going to mess with it. But of course, that is completely moot because of how unstable the price is right now. So it can't really be used for the original purpose.
Yeah, but I think it's still not too late, right? I mean, I think it's educating people is really the key, and they haven't done a good job of educating people about it, in my opinion. I think the average public.
Even the whole, have you heard about what's the creator's supposed name, like Nakoto?
Satoshi.
Yeah, how he has in like the final part of the blockchain, there's just like one note, and it's actually a quote from a New York Times newspaper on the day that the big bailout issue happened. So it was like the apparent inspiration for Bitcoin was the financial crisis, or at least, I mean, I'm sure he was making it before that, but it was kind of like that was the one thing he said was, hey, I'm doing this because of, all of this crazy stuff that the government's been doing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Bitcoin is just as much, and like Patricia was saying,
mysterious, right?
It's mysterious. It's mysterious, but it's also very personal. Like, Bitcoin is really a way of life, and it's a philosophy more than I think anything. It really is. It speaks to people who believe in freedom. That they should be free to do as they please in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. And also not be at the mercy of a cartel, right? Which is kind of what they see the current system to be. So, but I think what's happening in Bitcoin is there's some diverging views about how to maintain the system, and that's I guess that's just human nature, right? We're still really highly flawed.
Yes, and problems with the security.
Yeah,
problem with the security.
I was just thinking that same thing. This whole like 51% attack or something. It's like if someone manages to gain 51% of Bitcoin, they can completely control the system or something like that.
Yeah.
And given there's a lot of Bitcoin out there, but there are a lot of people who are probably rich enough to buy 51%. I don't know. I don't know that for sure. I'm just, thinking out loud.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of the concerns are pretty much the mining. There are certain monopolies now in the mining world, particularly in Asia. You need $3 billion to do that. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, to your point, it would be hard to control it, but if you can hop on, that'd be great because you seem to really know what's going on in that space. But we see. I mean, when I'm reading about what's happening in Bitcoin, it just seems like there's a technical fork in the road, and it, you need consensus. You need some kind of consensus, and right now it seems like there's a breakdown in the consensus, unfortunately. But there's so many great applications, and Kasaba, do you want to join us? Yeah. If you want to join us, that would be great. So just a little bit more about.
I might hop back on later, but I'm gonna make something to eat, so
sure.
I'll be watching.
All right. Okay. Thanks
for
joining us. Bye. See ya. Okay. So quickly, I'm just going to talk about remittance, and for those of you who have done any traveling or you've got people overseas, this is something that's kind of near and dear to a lot of people's hearts later. So the remittance industry, you may have heard of MoneyGram, Western Union. These are like the big players, and obviously the bank, right? If you want to transfer money, you can also use your local bank. So these guys have been disrupted by a couple of startups that are doing extremely well, and they're also unicorns, a lot of them. So they're valued at $1 billion, and I think rightly so, because they've really hit a mark. One of them is TransferWise. They're probably the most well known. They're backed by Sir Richard Branson, so they had his blessing, and I think he's on their board. And he's really into Bitcoin, so really exciting to hear him talk about the space. And they're out of London. You've got Flywire in Boston, Fair FX in London, Currency Fair in Dublin, Azimo is out of London, and then World Remit is also out of London. Again, a lot of these companies it's a matter of cost. It's much less to transfer money using these services, and you save a lot of money. They're very efficient, and they've taken advantage of our mobile phones. The fact that a lot of us have cell phones, and in the developing world, they also have a lot of cell phones. Many of them have leapfrogged over the regular phone system. So you've got a lot of them that, a lot of people in third world countries that send money back and forth with their phones, and their loved ones in America and Canada and Australia and in the Western world can easily transfer the money. So it'd be interesting. Has anyone used any fintech company that we've discussed? I'd be curious to know if anyone's used any of the fintech products, even if it's in a cab. Like, I took a cab the other day, and my cab driver had Square, which I thought was really cool. So I paid him. He just handed me his iPhone, and I paid my fare using his iPhone, using my iPhone. And yeah, and I'm sure Uber. I haven't taken an Uber yet. Have you taken Uber yet? I haven't used Uber yet. Pat, have you used Uber?
No, not yet.
So all of these technologies are colliding. Uber, you pay through. Yeah, right. Yeah, I haven't used Uber yet. So which is crazy, right? Because it's I love technology.
But I know many people who are working for Uber.
Yeah, I haven't used them yet. It's and I live in a condo with a lot of cabbies, so they're pissed. But anyways, that's a whole other story. All right, so Coinbase.
You have to pay through the application.
Yeah, we talked about that. All right, so I think that's about it. We have we've covered, I think, a lot of the fintech companies. We're going to cover more next week. We haven't covered crowdfunding, so that we're going to talk about crowdfunding next week. We're going to talk about analytics and big data. We're going to talk about the Internet of Things, wealth tech. And what we mean by wealth tech is B2B, business to business companies. So traders, like trading software for institutions. And personal capital or personal finance is B2C. Okay, that's how we differentiate the wealth tech space, because it's huge, but they have different customers. So we separated them. And then financial research we'll talk about. And financial research is interesting because if you're a day trader or like somebody that likes to manage their own portfolio, the tools are mind-blowing that they have. Like, you will be able to have tools as a trader, a regular person trading your stocks, that the most sophisticated wealth manager has, or stockbroker, or you know what I mean, trader, professional trader. You'll have access to what they have. Like, it's just mind-blowing. So there's So there's just a lot of exciting things in the space. I think that it's a great time to be an entrepreneur. If you're thinking of opening up a business of any kind, the tools are out there for you to get paid. They're out there for you to be an investor, if that's something that you want to do in order to make money. And so it's a pretty amazing time. Is there something that can compare to Bloomberg Terminal for free? I'm very interested. I don't know if any of them are free per se, okay? But I can't even think of any off the top of my head. But if you send me an email, I'm going to send me an email, because I have to just look them up. I wish I knew everything off the top of my head. But send me an email, and there's a company out of Denmark, okay, out of Scandinavia that's competing with Bloomberg. And it's like amazing, the tools that they have. A lot of it also is called, what's it called? Social networking investing. So there are also a lot of companies that are setting up. eToro is a big one out of Israel. They're probably the most common one, or one of the most popular ones. And they allow you to follow people who really, are great at great traders, and they allow you to follow them and choose exactly what they choose, and you can, talk to people, and so it's like Facebook for traders. And that's eToro. They're one of the larger ones. So email me, and I'll email you that Scandinavian company that has really amazing tools for day traders. And I think that's about it. I mean, does anybody have any questions? It'd be interesting to find out, what you guys do as your day job, and perhaps, how FinTech can maybe help you do it better. If you're in real estate, for people who are interested in trading, see if you can get a library card at your local university. Yeah, you can possibly get Bloomberg for free. Okay, interesting. Through the university. Yeah. Well, Bloomberg is a really innovative company, so I'm almost certain that they are going to disrupt themselves. We always try and recruit from Bloomberg as headhunters, and people just love it there. I speak to people at Bloomberg, and they don't want to leave. They're like, unless they're getting paid an astronomical amount. It's one of the few companies where, and there are a couple, but Bloomberg's one of them. As big as they are, man, they've created a culture where people really love the culture. And it would have to be an opportunity of a lifetime for them to leave it. It's highly unlikely. But anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. If anybody has any questions, feel free to visit us. Our website is www.fintechrecruiters.com. You can find us there. And we're going to be doing this again the same time, right, Patricia? Same time next week?
Actually, can we move to Thursday next week?
Sure. Okay, so same time next Thursday. Mm-hmm. And bring any questions, do the research, look up FinTech and see what's out there, and bring your questions to us. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And if you work for a FinTech company, because I don't know who's on right now, but we'd love to hear from you, because we're always looking for people to come speak. We're looking for speakers, actually. We're looking for speakers for our Virtual Careers Summit and the the FinTech Careers Virtual Summit. Let me just type it, FinTech Careers Virtual Summit. We're going to have it from March 3rd to the 6th, and it's online, which makes it global, okay? So you could be anywhere in the world, and, come listen to speakers talk about their companies and their startups, and, how it's not just going to, yeah, thanks, Pat. It's not just going to impact people in financial services. It's going to impact everyone. I was having a conversation with someone about the banks, and like in 10 years, they're not going to believe that people, the younger generation won't believe people actually went to a building called a bank to get money. Like, that's going to be so foreign. Banks will become, in my opinion, they're going to be, and another opinion, it's not just me, they're going to become like drive-through. They'll still have them, for people who want to go to a drive-through movie, right? You still have people who and I enjoy a drive-through movie every now, a drive-in movie rather, a drive-in movie. That's how foreign banks will be. They just won't exist as buildings. Yeah, so thank you guys for joining us. We're going to be signing off, and if you have any questions, visit the website and give us a call. We'll see you next Thursday at the same time.
One more thing, we are just curious, how did you like it? If you like it, you can just simply let us know. Or if you have any suggestions how we can make it better, please don't hesitate to ask.
We've got somebody that's calling in. Hi, Lee. We don't have much time, but we definitely want to take your question. Hello? Are you there? We can't hear you. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay, join us next week, Lee. We'll be here for your questions. And oh yeah, and you can always hit us up on Twitter. So if you have questions, just tweet me. I will be more than happy to answer any questions via Twitter at Fintech Careers. And my name is Nako, by the way, because I may as well let you know my name. And her name is Patricia. Okay. Oops.
You can post my Twitter as well if you want.
I saw your yes. Okay. So Patricia's is Ace HR. This is Patricia's Twitter.
Management.
Ace HR Management. So yeah. So feel free to send us any of your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. Yeah. Do you have time to stay, Pat, for like 5 minutes, or you've got to get off?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I can.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's try. He's trying to call me.
But wait a second. We can try accept this call.
Yeah. I tried. I accepted it, but he's not coming through. I don't know if it's his. Can you hear us, Lee? Because we can't see you and we can't hear you. Yeah, I don't know. There's some technical problem. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully he'll be able to join us next week. Yeah, he's off. I think he logged off. Oh, no, he's not.
No, he's still.
There he is again.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
Hello.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
finally. Yay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Welcome.
Hey, I'm using this old garbage webcam, so you know.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Are you affiliated with Blab?
No. No.
We are just using Blab.
Yeah.
I found out about Blab today. I was hoping that Blab had an app for Android because I have an awesome camera on my phone and an awesome microphone. So why buy one for the computer? That's why I'm using my 200-year-old webcam.
Okay, they're not Android compatible?
I don't think so. I was trying to get into one of these other chat groups just before, and they were talking something about Android not being supported currently.
Wow.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, that is. That's pretty interesting. Yeah,
But
so you know what? You can tweet them.
I have an app installed right now called Blab. So maybe just to take a name.
You know what you could do? Here's what you do, Lee. Tweet them. Just tweet at Blab, and they'll respond to your tweet. Just say, when are you gonna update your compatibility with Android?
Okay. Yes, I'll do that. I was actually watching some YouTuber, Steve Dotto, I think his name is, a Canadian, and he was talking about Blab. That's how I found out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, no, we're not affiliated. I think they're in San Fran, if I'm not mistaken, San Francisco. They're in the Bay Area.
What are you two doing?
Yeah, we actually we just finished up our discussion on fintech, financial technology, and fintech is a term. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it pretty much covers startups that are disrupting the financial space, the financial services space, and the banking space. So that's yeah. You may have heard it.
Is this only germane to Americans?
No, it's global. It's global. So you've got companies like TransferWise out of the UK. You've got Klarna out of Sweden. You've got
bingo. I'm from Sweden, so that's perfect.
Klarna. Okay, have you heard of Klarna? Have you heard of Klarna?
Who?
Here, I'll spell it. Look them up. They are one of the leaders in the space. Klarna and Credit. I don't know how to spell Credit Tech.
Credit?
Klarna. Oh yeah. They keep sending me bills.
What you mean?
Yeah. Okay, so Klarna is a big. I was trying to think of Credit Tech, but I don't remember how to spell it. It's a weird spelling. You know how they all have weird spellings.
Is it Swedish?
Oh, because you need to use Swedish. Yeah, okay.
It's either Swedish or Danish. Sometimes I'm
Swedish.
Yeah, it might be Swedish. That's how you guys say credit.
Yep.
You spell credit.
It's like my dad said. He's British. He said that if you ever come across any Swedish word you've never heard of or don't understand or sounds weird, just think of it in English, and they've just bastardized the English language. So
yeah, so
Swedish is basically German, French, and English.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So pretty much we are recruiters in the financial technology space, and we place people who are interested in working for fintech startups, financial technology startups. So that's what we do, and we're just discussing how banks won't be around in, I'd say, 5 to 10 years as we know them.
So really?
Oh yeah, everything's going to be electronic. I mean, it's coming, whether you want it or not.
In Sweden, it's. Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean like them closing offices and just having an online presence?
Yeah, an online presence. Yeah, and even the nature of currency.
Over here everywhere.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening here everywhere.
Yes, in Sweden they are going cashless.
Yes, exactly, a cashless society. Exactly. So that's fintech. There's a cool German bank. I can't remember it now. I don't remember these names. Level number 26. Here it is, number 26. This is the bank of the future, people. It's coming.
That's it? No link?
I think it's just number26.com. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I don't represent this bank. I'm just giving you an example. But this is the bank of the future, and I think they're probably in many European cities, but I know they're out of Germany, and they're called challenger banks, and we're going to see a lot of them, and the millennials are driving the growth, but I think once baby boomers figure out, okay, I can pay lower interest rates on my credit cards or whatever, the number of things that you can do and the interest rates are higher rather.
Here's the link.
On a savings. Okay, is that it? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Pat. I wasn't sure what the link was. So yeah, so that's pretty much what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap things up. Join us next week if you're around on next Thursday at 9:30 Pacific time and 12:30 Eastern time. And I'm not sure.
You don't have any GMT time.
So it will be 6:30 Swedish time.
Yeah.
6:30.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
6:30
yeah,
GMT.
sure.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
So, an hour back.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, okay. This is fun.
Oh, well, we're your first blab, so welcome.
Okay. So I don't know.
So subscribe to the channel. And you'll see a little subscription thingamajig button, and then we'll be back next week. And we'd love to also talk to people about how fintech's going to impact you personally, and maybe that will be next week's topic: how fintech can empower individual entrepreneurs, because we think what's happening in the fintech space is really going to empower everyone globally. And that's what's so beautiful about the space, is that it's not just empowering people in the West who, we have a lot of access to things that most people don't have access to, but it's going to empower people in Africa. It's going to empower people in Asia and India. Obviously, India's in Asia, but like all of Asia, Latin America, and Bitcoin, I think, is sort of at the forefront of creating a smaller, more equitable place to live. So we're really excited about it. We know that a lot of entrepreneurs hang out on Blab, so we're going to address how you can take advantage of some of the fintech startups and what they're doing to make it a lot easier to be an entrepreneur and to empower yourself economically, right? And how these companies are bringing tools that were only really accessible to the very wealthy, and now we all have access to a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. And if someone would like to suggest any topic, just please pose the question or the topic you would like us to discuss. We are open.
I would like, I gave
you can say. You can say. We can hear you.
You can't hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can. Everything is good.
Okay. I just wrote a link on the chat. That's to my website.
And what is the link?
Okay, that's your website. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
And I'm selling. I'm still building my website. I'm powering it with the Joomla, the content, like WordPress. And I'm in the process of. I need a checkout system. I need a payment system. And if you're affiliated with the Klarna, that's awesome, because I've heard that they have a payment module that I could integrate into my shopping cart that I have. And so with the business.
I like Simple. Is it Simple or Stripe Try looking up these two companies. Okay, Stripe, I think it's Stripe. I don't even know if it's stripe.com. I never know the URLs because, again, I don't represent these companies. Okay, so stripe.com.
Yes, Stripe, web and mobile payments built for developers.
These guys are good.
And then they work in Sweden.
It's multi-currency. Yeah, it's multi-currency.
Sweet. Okay, and the other one was Simple. Okay. Oh, thank you for the link.
I think Simple might still be US based, if I'm not mistaken. But Stripe is definitely And they've got a couple others. So you may want to do your research. Just, do the research and see who's competing with Stripe. But yeah, what do you do? What are you selling? I'm just curious.
I'm selling. I accidentally slipped into the category of satin ribbons and buttons and sewing threads and the likes. And like I'm a pure computer nerd, and I accidentally started selling ribbons.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, man, if it's making you money, like, power to you. You know what I mean? So
I got on to Poland. I got on to Poland and visit some friends and buy some ribbons and.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Poland. I am from Poland.
Poland is an awesome country.
I agree.
Yes, bardzo dobrze.
You can email me as well. I can give you some, if you know, suggestions in terms of companies.
Hey, you can give me some nice vacation suggestions for Sopot and Gdynia and Gdansk. That's for sure.
I will. I studied geography and tourism. Come on.
Oh, okay. This is so much fun.
That's so funny. Okay.
Just gonna try to figure out how all of this works.
Just write it down and connect with us on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah, connect with us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, and we will. For mobile banking, do you foresee? Oh man, I gotta get going soon. I can just see. I'm getting okay. 1 second. My calendar's popping up.
I have a question.
For mobile banking, do you foresee the primary method of ensuring a secure transaction to move from fingerprints to retina displays? Yes. TG price 5. Yep. It's going to go to retina. It's scary. It's kind of scary at the same time. It's exciting and scary. Very 1984, very strange days, because virtual reality is also a huge thing that's coming into play that I'm seeing a lot. And I think the virtual reality world is going to make it easier for people to accept that, because part of what's going to happen is that if banking does it first, man, people are going to freak out. But I think what's going to happen is the leisure world is going to make this stuff fun, right? Because your brain has to make an association first with the technology, and then when we've accepted it in the leisure world, then I think banking may introduce it. But I think that it might be hard for banking to start it without us getting used to it in other realms, because people are going to freak out when you start scanning their iris, right? I mean, people freak out now with the TSA going through those machines. Can you imagine?
Thank you.
Although they are doing retina scans at the airport now. I don't know if anybody's traveled lately, but they do I had to do it the last time I traveled. Wouldn't it be easy to scoop people's retina from photos? You know what? I don't know. I'm not technical enough to know that the answer.
Well, what you should worry about is more about fingerprints. That's what I would see more worrisome than retina than iris scans, personally, because I mean fingerprints are fairly easy to just. It's not actually fingerprints. It's the data that the fingerprint reading turns into. I don't know how to explain it, but no, retina. It's not something I worry about.
Okay. Yeah. Everything I think comes back to how comfortable people are with accepting it, but we're living in a brave new world already. Like, it's already here. I think next year we're all going to be, using some form of fintech and some form of virtual reality. It's kind of freaky. But anyways, people, it was lovely. We got to get going, sign off. We hope to see you next week. Please follow us on Twitter so that you can get the next talk, the next blab that we're doing. We may do one on the weekend. I don't know. We'll see whether or not we feel like doing something on the weekend. Where you can just sit back.
You're working on commission, right?
Yeah. I mean, as headhunters, like we work for ourselves, right? So in our industry, we say you eat what you kill what you eat what you kill. So yes, we're independent. We kind of make our own schedules and do our own thing. Like I think the majority of people, that kind of participate in blabs tend to.
Yeah, I get it. It's like the Tupperware sales here in Sweden.
All right, Lee, thank you so much for joining us. And Patricia, it was a pleasure as always. We're going to come back and do this again. And by the way, highly recommend Stripe due to its high-level integration with other online apps. Thank you, TG Price 5.
Powodzenia, okej då.
Powodzenia.
Okay, thanks for the Stripe endorsement. Yeah, I think they're actually really good as well. Okay, cool. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye, Pat.